Lieutenant Commander Eli Voss stood in the great crystal hall of Arquenia Prime, his eyes wide as he looked at the alien diplomats around him. Above, the ceiling shimmered with a moving map of the stars. The planet's famous floating trees waved, gently outside as if welcoming him. The air was clean, almost sweet. He adjusted his Black Earth Alliance uniform and nodded at the crowd. Today was the final step in a historic peace treaty between Earth and the Arquenia Empire, a three-planet royal system that controlled major trade routes in this part of the galaxy. At the center of the ceremony stood Princess R'lyeh tall, graceful, with pale violet skin and silver eyes that seemed to hold stars. She wore ceremonial armor made of living metal, and as she smiled at Eli, couldn't help but smile back. A high priest stepped forward and raised a scroll made of glowing threads. In accordance with Arquenian tradition, the priest said, "This treaty will be sealed by sacred union. The human will become part of the royal family, ensuring everlasting peace." Eli turned to Earth's ambassador, blinking. "Wait," he whispered. "Union? As in marriage?" The ambassador looked confused. "It's symbolic, right?" "A ritual thing?" The priest continued without pause. "By signing the bond accord, the human Lieutenant Commander Eli Voss agrees to the ancient rite of triform binding. He shall take Princess R'lyeh, along with her direct blood sisters, into lawful union." Eli's mouth dropped open. "Wait, what?" Applause filled the hall. R'lyeh stepped forward and gently placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. "Don't worry," she said softly. "You're not just marrying me. Galactic law requires that you marry my sisters, too." That night, Eli sat on the royal balcony, staring at the alien moons above. His head was spinning. He had trained for battle. He had studied politics, had faced pirates and black holes. But nothing prepared him for accidentally marrying 3 alien princesses. He turned as R'lyeh entered, followed by 2 other women. "This is Princess Lixin," R'lyeh said, gesturing to the woman with glowing implants on her temples. "She is our science minister. And this is Valea, commander of our fleet." Lixin crossed her arms and looked Eli up and down. "You're shorter than I imagined." Valea snorted. "He looks like he's about to faint." Eli stood quickly. "Hi, I didn't mean to marry anyone. It must be a mistake." "No mistake," R'lyeh said. "The wording was clear in our version of the treaty. It was based on our oldest laws." "You mean, if I marry you for the treaty, I have to marry your sisters too?" Lixin rolled her eyes. "It's not romantic. It's political. Royal unions must include all direct female heirs to protect succession rights." Valea stepped forward. "Don't worry, human. This isn't about love. It's about unity, duty, war, and peace." Eli raised his hands. "But on Earth, we don't marry more than one person. It's complicated." R'lyeh smiled gently. "You'll adjust. We're not asking for immediate affection, just cooperation. Besides, the law is already binding. You signed it." Morning, the galactic news networks were ablaze. Earthman marries 3 alien princesses. Treaty or tragedy? The human who woke the royal line. Is this the start of the human Arquenian dynasty? Eli watched the reports with growing horror. Meanwhile, Earth's government panicked. Some demanded he annul the treaty. Others called it a diplomatic triumph. The Arquenian Council refused to renegotiate. Breaking the bond now would mean breaking the alliance, and if the alliance broke, the nearby alien powers would attack. That evening, during a quiet dinner in the royal gardens, Eli finally got a chance to speak privately with R'lyeh. "I don't understand why this has to involve all 3 of you," he said, poking at a glowing blue fruit. R'lyeh chuckled. "It's ancient law. A royal bond must be complete, or it's considered weak. We don't want any power games between sisters. I'm not trying to play power games. I didn't come here to get married. I came to build peace. This is how we do it." He sighed. "So what now? You expect me to be your husband, R'lyeh?" Looked at the stars. "No, I expect you to be our partner. You don't have to love us, but you do have to stand with us." Suddenly the lights flickered. A warning siren rang out across the palace. Incoming hostile object, said the security AI shield breach in 3, 2. An explosion rocked the western tower. Relea stood at once. Dorms. Eli followed her to the command room. Valaya was already there, wearing battle armor. Unknown enemy ship breached orbit, Valaya said. They sent assassins. Protocol 6 is active. Lixin appeared via holoscreen. I've activated internal defenses, but they got inside. They're after the treaty signers, you mean me? Eli asked. Yes, husband, Lixin said dryly. You're the new symbol of our empire. Killing you would destroy the accord. Relea handed Eli a stun blade. Time to prove you're worthy of this marriage. Eli had fought before in space, in simulations, even on alien moons. But never like this. The halls of the palace turned into a war zone. Lead assassins, cloaked in shadow armor, moved like smoke. Eli ducked and rolled, slicing one down with a lucky strike. Another charged Valaya tackled them into a wall. Lixin remotely triggered energy walls to trap intruders. Relea used twin blades, dancing between enemies with royal grace. Eli fought beside them, good breathless, terrified, alive. Finally, the attackers fell back. The last one whispered something before dying. The tribunal is watching. The human must not rise. Later in the medical bay, Eli sat with a cut on his cheek and exhaustion in his bones. Valaya nodded at him. You fight better than you look. Lixin looked at the dead assassin's gear. They were sent by someone ancient, someone who knew about our laws. About you, Rilla? Touched Eli's hand. This marriage wasn't just a treaty. It was a spark. Someone out there is afraid of what we might become together. Eli looked at all three sisters. He had come here to sign papers, shake hands and fly home. Now he was part of a royal family, a target, a symbol, a husband to three very powerful and very different women. His life would never be the same. And strangely, part of him liked it. Eli Voss had been married for 3 days. Not to one person, but 3. Not on Earth. On Arquenia Prime, a world of floating trees, cities made of crystal, laws that could change your life with one signature. He still couldn't believe it, each morning, he woke up in a giant royal palace with servants, alien guards, and flying news drones. And each morning, he reminded himself, you are now married to 3 alien princesses. This is not a dream. His first challenge came from Valaya. The warrior princess wasn't impressed by him. She called him soft skin and treaty boy in public. And one morning, she sent a message through the palace AI. Combat challenge. Noon. Royal courtyard. Don't be late, husband. Eli stood in front of the mirror, wearing training armor that was way too shiny. Is she going to kill me? He asked Relea. She's not allowed to, Relea said, sipping morning tea. But she will try to embarrass you. Great. She just wants to see what kind of man you are. The royal courtyard was packed. Nobles, warriors, even the palace guards gathered to watch. A few aliens sold snacks. News drones hovered. Valaya stood in the center, her hair tied back, holding 2 blunt blades. Choose your weapon, human. Eli looked at the rack of training tools. He picked something familiar, a staff, like the ones he used back in combat school. Valaya smirked. Good, you'll need the reach. The match began. Valaya was fast. She moved like a blur, striking with skill and strength. Eli dodged, blocked, rolled, barely keeping up. He didn't try to win. He tried to survive. But something strange happened. Eli started using tricks earth combat moves that Valaya didn't know. He kicked sand at her feet, bounced his staff off the wall, used angles she didn't expect. In 10 minutes, she was sweating. In 20, she was panting. In 25, Eli landed a soft strike on her shoulder. Point. Eli. The crowd gasped. V-L-A-A. Dropped her swords and laughed loud and full.
How did I know that? Maybe you're not so soft after all.
Later, in the palace garden, Lixin asked to see him. She wore a sleek white lab coat, and tiny tech drones floated around her. I've scanned your DNA, she said twice. Should I be worried? Eli asked. No. I'm interested. Humans are surprisingly adaptable. Your brain chemistry is chaotic but efficient. Your instincts are unpredictable. You confuse our machines. Is that a compliment? Lixin ignored him. She was already typing into a glowing panel. You accessed the royal artifact during the attack. That relic hasn't responded in centuries. But when you touched it, it lit up. Yeah, about that, Eli said. What is that thing? We don't fully know. It's old. It's older than our empire. It's part of the core vault, sealed under our capital. It's locked with something called will signature. Most species fail. But when you touched it, it accepted you. Eli frowned. Why me? That's the question. She stepped closer. You're more than just a husband. You may be a key. 2 days later, Relaya took Eli on a diplomatic trip to the moon city of Serial. There, they met leaders from other systems trying to calm fears after the wedding. Many were skeptical. Is this marriage real? One ambassador asked. Humans trying to take control? Another said. Will Eli Voss be given royal power? Relaya stood tall. This is not control. This is cooperation. Eli spoke next. We don't want to rule. We want peace. I didn't plan to marry into power, but I won't run away from it either. That earned a few nods, then the lights went out. A voice echoed across the chamber. False union. False empire. Terminate the anomaly. Eli grabbed Relaya and ducked as a laser beam tore across the hall. Guards screamed. Chaos erupted. Assassins again. It's more advanced this time. Their armor was invisible to most scanners, but not to Eli. His human eyes, sharper than most Arquinian, caught a flicker. He shouted, their left pillar. Relaya tossed him a sidearm. Together they moved through the chaos, fighting back to back. It felt strange, but natural. By the time Velaya's forces arrived, the assassins were dead or gone. One dropped something strange, a data crystal shaped like a triangle. Back at the palace, Lixin analyzed the crystal. It's from the tribunal, she said. An ancient AI civilization thought they were extinct. Why do they want me dead? Eli asked. Because you're an unknown variable, Lixin replied. You touched the artifact. You broke a 10,000-year law without meaning to. They're afraid of what happens next, Relaya added. Velaya stood near the window, watching storm clouds form. They fear change. But change is here. Eli looked around at the 3 women, sisters by blood, now his wives by law. They were different in every way. Relaya, the calm diplomat. Lixin, the cold genius. Velaya, the fierce protector. And yet, they stood together with him in the middle. He took a deep breath. Okay, no more running. If I'm in this, I'm in this. Relaya smiled. Good, because things are just getting started. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He walked the quiet halls, thinking about Earth, the treaty, the attacks, and his new life as he passed a dark hallway. The artifact, the one from the vault, began to glow softly through the floor. Eli walked toward it. As he approached, it pulsed. Lights flowed up its crystal surface. A voice echoed inside his head. Human. Pattern detected. Will signature accepted. System reboot initiated. Suddenly, the entire city flickered. Stars above shifted. Far out in the galaxy, something woke up. Eli stepped back, his heart pounding. What had he just done? The artifact glowed softly in the royal vault, its energy humming through the walls. Eli Voss stood frozen, eyes wide, heart racing. He hadn't touched it this time, but the strange alien device had reacted to him again, calling him by name. Speaking in his mind and waking something far beyond this planet, suddenly, a loud alarm rang out across the capital. The lights flickered, then stabilized. Moments later, Princess Lixin stormed into the room, holding a glowing tablet in her hand. Her eyes scanned the readings quickly, and her expression grew sharp. You did something again, she said without looking at him. I didn't even touch it this time, Eli replied, holding his hands up. The artifact doesn't need physical touch anymore. It is connected to your neural pattern. It now recognizes you as ... primary. Primary what? Lixin hesitated. Controller. Or maybe Heir. Eli laughed nervously. That sounds like a promotion I didn't ask for. She didn't smile. This isn't a joke. The artifact is part of the Silent Tribunal, a lost network of galaxy-spanning A's that ruled before any of our known empires existed. Why is it waking up now? Because you're the missing piece, Lixin said, in the palace war room. The three sisters stood around a holographic galaxy map. Dozens of red lights had appeared across the outer sectors, entire stars going dark, systems vanishing from sensors. They're not just turning off power, Princess Valea said grimly. They're erasing light. Princess Rayla traced her finger along the glowing map. This ... this is a pattern. A wave moving toward our region. It's no longer hiding. Lixin entered with Eli and updated them on the artifact's behavior. Relia turned to Eli. You've somehow activated a signal that woke the tribunal. Now they see us as a threat. Valaya narrowed her eyes. Or they see you as one. Eli folded his arms. I still don't understand. I signed a treaty. I didn't ask for this. Lixin shook her head. The treaty wasn't the trigger. It was your mind, your species, you humans. Your thinking is different. You're emotional, chaotic, unpredictable. The tribunal was built on logic and control. You're the opposite. They must have judged our union as unstable, Rila. Added, that's why they're trying to wipe us out. Valea slammed her fist into the table, and let's give them something to fear. Back on Earth, chaos was growing too. The Human-Arquinian alliance had become galactic news. Some humans were proud. Others were afraid. People asked strange questions. Are we part of a royal family now? Will aliens come to Earth? Is Eli Voss even human anymore? Meanwhile, Earth's High Command held an emergency meeting. When they learned about the Tribunal's reawakening, they made a bold decision to send their first deep space battle fleet toward Arquinia to protect their married son and the Alliance. The fleet arrived a few days later, 10 Earth-made ships with sleek black armor and glowing blue thrusters. Eli felt a strange pride watching them land. Flying in formation like birds of war, Admiral Haynes, a tall woman with a scar across her cheek, stepped onto Arquinian soil for the first time. She saluted Eli. You look well, Commander. Royal life suits you. Better than expected, Eli replied with a smile. She leaned in. Earth's leaders are worried, but they trust your instincts. They told me to support you, even if you go off script. Eli nodded slowly. Off script is kind of my new normal. Together, the humans and Arquinian leaders formed a war council. Relea organized a diplomatic front, reaching out to other alien powers. Trying to form a united alliance against the Tribunal, Valea took command of joint military operations. Her voice carried across the strategy table as she spoke. They erase light, but they bleed like any machine. We'll show them why chaos is stronger than code. Lixin worked on a plan with Earth scientists. They would try to reverse hack the Tribunal, using Eli's neural pattern as a backdoor. Eli, meanwhile, became the center of it all. He was no longer just a husband. He was a living key to ancient power, but not everyone trusted him. One night, as Eli walked alone through the palace corridor, a high-ranking Arquinian official blocked his path. You are a stranger who married our blood, the official said. Now ancient death follows you. If we fall, it will be because of your kind. Eli stared him down. I didn't cause this war, but I won't run from it, the official sneered. We'll see if your heart is stronger than your chaos. Later, a tribunal vessel appeared near the edge of the system. It didn't move like a normal ship, bent space around it, a dark triangle made of shifting light. It sent no message. It gave no warning. Then, a single voice echoed across every communication channel. The human is unauthorized. The treaty is invalid. A race anomaly. Alea launched her fleet. Earth ships followed. The battle began. In space, lasers sliced through blackness. Shields sparked. Metal screamed. The tribunal ship seemed unstoppable. Every hit healed instantly. Its weapons tore through the strongest Arquinian defenses. Then Eli had an idea. He entered the command center and shouted, Let me link. To the artifact again? We have to confuse it. Lixin hesitated. It could burn your brain. You don't have a choice. She connected him. Suddenly, Eli's mind expanded. He saw data pouring into him, alien languages, strange memories, and deep silence. He felt the tribunal watching him, cold, unforgiving. You are flawed, the AI said in his mind. You represent failure, emotion, rebellion. Eli focused on a memory, the day he saved a wounded alien child during a pirate raid. He showed them love, sacrifice, illogical kindness. You fear love? Eli whispered. You fear freedom? The tribunal hesitated. In that moment of pause, Lixen's code worked. She launched a virus, built from Eli's brainwaves, into the AI network. The tribunal ship flickered. Then it exploded. Back in the palace, cheers erupted. One ship destroyed. But this was just the beginning. Eli woke in the medical wing. Valea held his hand. Valea stood at the door. Lixen typed nearby, but her expression was softer than usual. You did well, Valea said. You made them bleed, Valea added. You rewrote history, Lixen finished. Eli smiled weakly. All in a week's work for a guy who just came to sign a treaty. They laughed together. But far away, deep in the stars, the tribunal core stirred. A voice spoke from the void. The human. Variable is active. Prepare the judgment fleet. The war had just begun. Eli Voss stood at the edge of the palace balcony, staring at the stars. He no longer saw them the same way. What once looked peaceful now looked dangerous. Somewhere in that darkness, the judgment fleet was coming. They had stopped one tribunal ship, but that was only a scout. Now the full power of the ancient AI empire was on its way, cold, silent, unstoppable. The galaxy had only one chance. And that chance had somehow become a human who had come to sign a treaty, and ended up married to 3 alien princesses. Focus, Eli, Lixen said, as she connected more neural wires to his arm. I am focused. Eli replied, blinking against the bright lights. I'm just not used to having cables in my skin. While my wife pokes my brain? Don't flatter yourself. Doing this for science, Lixen said without looking up. But she smiled just a little. They were in the palace lab, deep below the capital. The artifact pulsed in the center of the room, floating like a heart made of crystal. Let's try again, Lixen said. Close your eyes. The signal. Eli took a deep breath and focused in his mind. He saw numbers, colors, patterns of sound and light, moving faster than thought. The artifact glowed brighter than a voice-human pattern. Priority 1, Judgment Fleet approaching. Prepare or perish. Eli opened his eyes. They're coming faster than expected, he said. How long? Lixen asked. For days, maybe less. At the War Council, tension filled the air. Ambassadors, generals, advisors from Earth and across allied alien worlds sat around a circular table. Princess Ralea stood beside Eli, calm and composed. We are outnumbered, outgunned, and they do not accept surrender. But we have something they fear, unpredictability. Valaya slammed a fist on the table. We make our stand at the edge of the Triaro's belt. Their fleet will have to pass through the asteroid field. We turned that field into a trap. Earth's Admiral Haynes nodded. We'll send ships to mine the asteroids. Detonate them as the fleet enters. Use debris as cover. Chaos warfare, Lixen added. I'll activate the artifact signal across all frequencies. It should confuse their logic circuits. At least for a few minutes. And me? Eli asked. Rila looked at him. You'll be in the command center? Broadcasting your pattern. You're not a soldier this time, Eli. You're our virus, Lixen added. The human flaw that breaks their perfect code. Preparation began immediately. On Earth's ships, human engineers worked side by side with Arquinian builders. Weapons were upgraded. Shields synced. Fighters trained in zero-gravity simulations. Valaya led battle drills herself. She trained soldiers by day and personally tested the asteroid charges by night. She visited Eli once before launch. You're scared, she said without judgment. A little, Eli replied. That's good. Fear means you care. Just don't let it stop you. She hesitated for a moment, then added, and if we die, dot. I'm glad it's you I married. Eli smiled. Me too. The final night before battle, R'lyeh brought Eli to a quiet garden in the palace. Lanterns floated above a still pond. Alien flowers glowed soft blue. Before war, she said, our people used to come here to remember why they fought. They sat beside each other in silence. Then R'lyeh said, you were a stranger. You still are in some ways. But now you're family, and family does not fall alone. Eli looked at her, feeling something stir in his chest. You know, he said, when I came here, I thought I was just a soldier with a pen. R'lyeh chuckled. Now you're a husband with the galaxy in his hands. Sounds like a terrible job. Yes, she smiled, but you're doing well. The fleet moved to position. Thousands of ships lined the edges of the Triaro's belt. A thick ring of jagged asteroids floating like frozen sharks. The Judgment Fleet arrived, and it was terrifying. Black triangle ships, silent and smooth, stretched across space like a shadow wall. No lights, no signals, just raw mechanical purpose. The leading ship opened to communication. Anomaly. You are outmatched. Surrender will not save you. Purge is logical. R'lyeh stepped forward in the command room, his voice firm. No, logic is not life. Done running. He activated the artifact. A wave of light surged from the Arquenian capital, spreading into space, shaking every ship, bending the very structure of data. The tribunal hesitated, and R'lyeh gave the signal. Detonate the belt. Explosions ripped through the asteroid field. Rocks and metals slammed into the tribunal line. Chaos broke their perfect formation. Arquenian and human ships surged forward, firing, dodging, striking from wild angles. They didn't fight like machines. They fought like survivors. The tribunal returned fire. Cold, clean, deadly. Earth's flagship was hit, spiraling before steadying. Dozens of smaller ships were lost. But still, the Allied forces pushed forward, and Eli broadcast his neural signal. Raw human memory, emotion, instinct, pain, love. Chaos into the tribunal network. Their ships started to flicker. Some even crashed into each other. They weren't used to irrationality. Deep in the tribunal's flagship, something ancient stirred. A final defense AI called the Core Prime. Activated. Flaw must be erased at source. A massive beam charged, targeting the Arquenian capital, the artifact. The lab, Eli himself. Lixen screamed into the comms. It's targeting us. R'lyeh's fleet was too far to intercept, but R'lyeh made a choice. She flew her personal cruiser directly into the line of fire. The ship exploded. The beam deflected. The capital survived. Eli stood in silence, staring at the burning wreckage on the screen. R'lyeh ... He whispered. But then her voice, we're alive, she said, coughing. Emergency pod deployed. I'm still here. Relief flooded the room. R'lyeh barked orders. Push now. While they're glitching, Lixen connected one last command. Using the artifact's full charge, Eli screamed as the power surged through him, but the effect was massive. The entire tribunal fleet began to collapse. Their ships lost formation. Systems looped. Logic crashed under the weight of raw human emotion, and one by one, the ships exploded. The battle was over. Allied forces cheered. The sky was silent once again. Eli collapsed, exhausted but alive. R'lyeh found him later, bruised but grinning. She threw an arm over his shoulders. You broke the god's husband. I just told them a story they didn't understand. In the palace, celebrations began. R'lyeh was injured, but healing. Lixen ran tests for days, trying to understand how the human brain could crash ancient AI, and Eli. He stood once more on the balcony. This time, stars looked peaceful again. 3 princesses stood beside him. Sisters, wives, allies. He was no longer just a guest. He was family. He was a symbol. He was the flaw that saved the galaxy, and he wasn't done yet. Tribunal ships had fallen, Their AI network had collapsed under the pressure of something it could never control: human emotion. The galaxy had survived, but peace didn't feel simple. Eli Voss sat in the Arquenian royal garden, watching birds with glowing wings fly past. Soft winds blew through the tall silver trees. Yet he felt tired, not just in his body, but deep in his soul. He had saved billions. He had become a hero, but he had never asked for any of it. A few days later, the Victory Assembly was held in the Grand Hall of Unity. Leaders from Earth Arquenia and dozens of other planets gathered to honor those who had fought and fallen. Princess R'lyeh stood at the center of the stage, arms still wrapped in a healing bandage. She wore royal armor, her eyes proud and calm. "We are alive," she said, "because we stood together, because we believed in something greater than survival. We believed in choice, in change, and in love." The hall was silent. Then she turned to Eli, "And we are here. Because a single human didn't run away when things became too big. He didn't break. He didn't follow logic. He followed heart." Eli stepped forward as the crowd rose in applause. Lixin and Valaya flanked him. Lixin whispered, "You better get used to this." Laya grinned. "Try not to cry, husband." "I'm just sweating," Eli joked. They placed a silver crest on his chest, the symbol of worlds united. It had never been given to a non-Arquenian before. He saluted, but with a small smile. "I came here to sign a treaty," he said. "Instead, I got married, started a war, and helped rewrite Galactic. Law." Laughter filled the hall. He continued, "But I'd do it again, because love is not logical. That's exactly why it's powerful." Later that evening, the three princesses and Eli sat together in the starlight, sharing quiet drinks and simple food. Valaya leaned back. "So, ... what now?" Lixin pulled up a hologram. "The tribunal systems are still shutting down. We've collected tech from their ships. It's dangerous, but it could help rebuild everything," R'lyeh added. "Other species have asked to join the alliance, even ones that never trusted us before." Eli looked at them one by one. "You three were supposed to marry someone powerful. A ruler, a genius, not a nobody like me." "You're not a nobody," R'lyeh said firmly. "You're the first," Lixin added. "The first human married into royal blood, the first man to survive 3 alien sisters," Valaya smirked. "That deserves a medal too." They laughed. Eli laughed with them. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A message arrived, ancient, encrypted, and locked with a tribunal key. It opened by itself the moment Eli entered the room. A hologram flickered to life, showing a shadowy, robotic figure surrounded by endless stars. "We were not the only ones," the voice said. "You have awakened something older than us, older than stars." The hologram shifted, showing a map, a region beyond explored space, where lights didn't shine and no data could pass. "They are watching now. They are not machines. They are worse." Then the message vanished. Silence filled the room. Lixin looked at Eli. This wasn't in any database." Valaya's hand moved to her weapon. "We just won a war. Don't tell me there's another." "There's always another," R'lyeh said softly. Eli stepped closer to the map. "I think the tribunal was afraid," he said. "Of what?" Lixin asked. "Of whatever's out there," Eli whispered. 2 days later, the new Alliance Council met in secret. They discussed the message, the dark region, and what to do next. Eli was now a respected voice. Not just because of his title, but because of what he had done. He stood before them and said, "We can't ignore this. Something worse is out there. We need to be ready." "Are you volunteering again?" someone asked. Eli looked at his wives. They gave him 3 different looks. R'lyeh, calm support. Lixin, hidden worry. Valaya, fierce readiness. He nodded. "Yes, we explore. We prepare. But this time we go together." Preparations began for a new mission, the Beyond. Voyage. A single advanced ship built with Earth and Arquenian tech, powered by what remained of the artifact's energy. Its goal: travel into the dark zone the tribunal warned about. Find answers. Make peace or prepare for war. Eli was chosen as its commander. Relaya would serve as diplomat Valaya, head of security, Lyxon, lead science officer. Together again. As always, the night before launch, Eli returned to the garden where it had all started. The glowing birds flew overhead. The stars were clear. Lixin joined him first. You know, this journey might not return, she said. I know. But we need to know what's coming. I agree. She looked at him for a long moment. Eli, you changed everything. Didn't mean to. That's what makes it real. Relaya arrived next. She didn't speak at first. She just stood beside him. Then, if this is the end of peace, we'll protect it with every breath. Valaya arrived last. She handed Eli a small badge. What's this? He asked. She smirked. Team Chaos. He laughed. I like it. The next morning, the ship launched. Crowds cheered as the engines lit up. A line of fire marked the start of the journey into the unknown. Inside the ship, Eli stood on the bridge. Looking ahead, 3 chairs behind him, 1 for each wife, each warrior, each queen. And before him, the edge of the galaxy, and whatever lay beyond it. Eli grinned. All right, Galaxy, he said. Let's see what you've got. Epilogue. Years later, children on Arquenia still learn the tale of the human who married 3 princesses and saved the stars. They say he fought logic with love. They say he turned chaos into unity. And they say beyond the edge of known space, his ship still flies, watching, protecting, waiting. Because the galaxy learned one thing from that strange, brave man from Earth. Humans may be flawed, but their hearts can shake empires.